Hi everybody, this is Kenny, and right now we have a distinguished guest as well as a friend. His name is Ramin. He's born in Iran, and he became a believer in Yeshua, and now he's staying in Israel. So Ramin, so do let us know a little bit of what's going on. What do you think is going on in Iran right now? I mean, this is the first time that Iran directly got involved in a conflict. Yeah.
With Israel.
In Israel, yeah. We would love to hear your perspective. So yeah.
Yes, thank you, Kenny. Thank you, Susan, for having me, and it's an honor to be with you. Yes, first of all, what happened this morning in Israel, it's of biblical proportion. And this is the moment when I think it's the beginning of a longer war. I think Israel would hit back the Islamic regime in Iran very hard. I believe that Israel is facing an existential threat because of this regime. Past 45 years of terrorism, the Islamic regime's focus has been Israel, supporting Hamas, Hezbollah, supporting the proxies to hurt Israel. And Israel cannot live under such a threat, especially when the regime in Iran is trying to get nuclear weapons. And because of that, Israel knows they have to stop it. And Iran is not too far. The regime is not too far away from acquiring a nuclear bomb. And because of that, Israel has to stop that. And I think this gives Israel an opportunity to destroy the reactors and to destroy the nuclear facilities, to stop the regime from acquiring a nuclear bomb. Imagine if the regime had a nuclear bomb and one day they decided to use it. Just like October 7 massacre, these people are suicidal. They can use any kind of bomb. Even if you afterward you hit them, you destroy them, you bomb them, they don't care. As long as they have hurt you, as long as they have damaged you and destroyed you, they don't care afterwards what happened. Just like we see what happened with the October 7 massacre. They don't care if Gaza is destroyed. They just wanted to kill Israelis, to kidnap, to rape, to destroy. And they don't care the aftermath. And so I'm going to give you a background of Iran and Israel. Iran and Israel have been friends for 2,500 years, since that time, since the time of Cyrus. Iranians have always been friends with the Jews. In fact, Iranians have been the only people in history who didn't harm the Jews. You go back to Cyrus' time that he freed the Jews from Babylon. You look at Xerxes, Esther's husband, who actually, once he found out Haman's plan, he destroyed Haman because of the intercession of Esther and Mordechai. And then you go to Artaxerxes. Artaxerxes was the one who gave Nehemiah permission to go rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. He gave gifts to Ezra for the house of the Lord in Jerusalem. He sent Ezra to teach the word of God. You see, Darius, he fasted overnight for Daniel. And then when Daniel was alive, and the next day, he made a proclamation. Darius made a proclamation that everybody in my domain must fear and honor the God of Daniel. So this is the Persian. These are the Persians who really helped the Jews throughout the history. My own grandfather, he helped the Jews when they were in need. There were some Muslims who were bothering the Jews in the region of south of Iran. And my grandfather was the head of this region. He was kind of like the sheriff or mayor of the place. And he punished the people who were hurting the Jews. So Iranian people, I want to say, that's why I use two terms. I use Iran and the Islamic regime. These are two very different terms, because I can tell you with 100% certainty, you can research that yourself, 98% of the Iranian people love and support Israel. As I said before, the Iranian people are excited right now. They are hoping and wishing that this time could be that they are finally free from this regime. Because imagine, since 1979, when this regime came to power, so many people have been executed, killed, murdered. Women get beaten and killed for simply not having a hijab, a headscarf. Economy is horrible. Imagine when I left Iran in 2006, when I escaped Iran, should say, $1 was equal to 700 tuman, the Iranian currency. Today, $1 is 67,000 tuman. In 1979, when revolution happened, $1 was equal to 7 tuman. Now it's 67,000 tuman. You talk about hyperinflation, super hyperinflation. And people cannot afford to buy food, daily food. There are stores in Iran, I hear from people that I'm in contact with. There are people in Iran who say that the stores, the shops, they don't put the price on the items because it could change in next hour. So that's what people are suffering. There's no future for them. Young people cannot get married. People cannot even buy a car because of the super hyperinflation. So people are suffering, both socially, economically, internationally. Iranians cannot travel anywhere because of their passport is not acceptable anywhere except Turkey and a few countries, third world countries. And because of that, Iranians are sick and tired of this regime. And the good thing, the only good outcome in the past 45 years of this regime being in power is that people saw the real face of Islam. Because, you know, a lot of people in the Muslim world are culturally Muslim. They're born that way, they grow up that way. They don't really know the real nature of Islam. They think Muhammad was an angel. They think Islam is perfect and the best and the last religion. But once you dive deep into it and you see, wow, that Muhammad murdered people, that he slept with a 9-year-old and he did all these kind of robberies. He had 14 wives. In 23 years of his so-called as a prophet, he started 34 wars. So what kind of prophet was he finally? I mean, they said he came to lead people into righteousness and the right path. What is the right path? To have 14 wives and to as youngest as 9 years old? In fact, she was 6 when he married her, and then he consummated the marriage when she was 9. So imagine a guy like that being as a prophet. So Iranian people now, they see that we have been following this guy and this regime. You know what Ayatollah means? Ayatollah means the sign of Allah. And when they look at the Ayatollah, a terrorist, an oppressive person who has been oppressing and squandering the wealth of the people, using it for terrorism while Iranians are suffering. So they say, if this is a sign of Allah, we don't want Allah. And Iranians are rejecting Islam outright. They're saying they hate Islam. There are 75,000 mosques in Iran, and 50,000 of them are closed because of no attendance. Even the ones that are open, only a handful of people show up. And Islam is diminishing little by little, and has been, and now it's on a very, very dangerous place for the regime because the people don't have any support for the regime. And Iranians are siding with Israel, the people. I've been in contact with people in Iran. They say, please, Israel, come and deliver us from this evil regime. Because the people of Iran, they have tried many times. They have tried many times in protest, uprising, but they get shot, they get killed. In fact, let me tell you this one. The guy that was eliminated in Syria by Israel just a week ago.
Yeah, can you tell more about us about the situation, the incident?
He wants to say something.
So the Revolutionary Guard has been, their mission, their goal is to take over the region and to use it as a proxy to attack Israel and American interests. So what they do, they have interests in Syria, in Iraq, in Lebanon, in Yemen, and even now they're trying to go to Sudan. So what happened, the guy that was in Syria, they're planning and plotting more attacks on Israel. I mean, why would you come to Syria? Iran will come to Syria and sending commanders because they want to plot and plan terrorism. And what happened was this guy who was eliminated, his name is Zahedi, he was in charge of suppressing the protests in Iran. And he has the blood of so many innocent men and women and children on his hands. And when Israel took him out, Iranian people were celebrating that one of their enemies, one of their oppressors is gone, is dead. And people felt avenged, and they feel love for Israel. That thank you, Israel, because you are fighting with our enemies. And you know, you have heard the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So Iranians feel friendship with Israel because Israel is destroying the enemies of the people of Iran. And Iranians, in fact, this morning, if you go on Twitter, which is called X now, if you go on X, the number one trending was Iranians stand with Israel. That was the number one trend this morning. I took a screenshot. It says that Iranians stand with Israel. This is on a morning attack, and the number one trend was Iranians stand with Israel. So that's why it shows that people of Iran, both inside and outside, they are rooting for Israel to succeed, to win, because they know this regime is dangerous both for Israel and for their future, for their children, for their family, for their country. And people don't want this regime. There was an election just March, 1st of March in Iran. There was an election. Less than 7% participated. Of 7%, 3% of that, not the 3% of the 7%, basically 4% or 3% voted in the election, because 4 of that 7 were all white ballots, meaning that people just cast ballot because they had to, because the government forces the government employees and students, soldiers to vote, and it was white ballot. That means they voted for nobody. So imagine the lowest participation in the history of this regime. People don't want the regime. Mosques are empty. People are chanting death to Ayatollah. People are chanting on the streets in the protests, no Islam, no Quran, my life is for Iran. No Gaza, no Lebanon, my life is for Iran. So Iranians said, we don't want anything to do with Gaza. We don't want anything to do with Lebanon. We want to build our own country. We don't want this regime. And Iranians now, for Persian New Year, when I was a kid, we used to go to mosques for Persian New Year. Christians go, the believers go to the church to start the new year to pray. In Iran, we used to go to mosque. Do you know where people go now for the new year? They go to the tomb of Cyrus.
Wow.
So Iranians are identifying with their national heritage, with their national history, rather than Islam. They're saying we are the children of Cyrus and not the children of Muhammad. And that's a big, big change. This is the success. It's way different than Afghanistan and Iraq. When American went to Iraq, people came on the roof shooting at American planes, helicopters. Everybody, just regular people. These are not army, not military, coming on the roof shooting. In Afghanistan, the same thing. In Iran, people are begging, please come. We will help you. We'll support you. I was talking to my sister. She was saying, please tell Israel to hit him from there, and we hit him from here. So Iranians want. And on top of that, Iran has the fastest growing church in the world.
Yes.
That's how I became a believer in the Messiah, because I realized, because of this regime, I realized Islam is not from God. I said, if these people are the sign of Allah, if these people are representing Islam, and I began to, and then, my mother at first, she said, Islam is good. These people make it look bad. That's what you hear in the media. Oh, these terrorists are not really Muslim, but it's a lie. So I began to read. I began to do my own studies, and I saw how dark and how destructive Islam is. And that's why many Iranians are leaving Islam. And then there's a void, a vacuum. And many of them are coming to the Lord, to the God of Israel. And of course, the God of the Bible, the God of Israel, is the God of love,
Yes.
compassion, forgiveness, the God of peace. So that's why when they become believers in Jesus, their lives change. They don't want to hurt anyone anymore. They have love. Especially when I became a believer in Jesus, in Yeshua, I began to read in the New Testament how Jesus was telling me to love my enemies, to forgive, to not to hurt people, to do unto people as I want them to do to me. And when I saw those things, when I saw those passages, and not only that, I saw in the Old Testament that my Savior is Israeli, is a Jew. I didn't know that before. I thought Jesus was an Arab, because Islam attaches itself to Jesus, Moses, Abraham, Noah. So a lot of people think that Jesus was one of them. But later I realized that Jesus is the Lord from heaven, that he's distinguished. He is not one of these imams who were actually wicked people. Most of these people at Islam, worships, these imams, these dead imams, they're all wicked people. But then you see that Jesus was the love, the Lord, and he changed my life. And Iranians are millions of them coming to Jesus, and that's the situation. So Iranians are not happy with this regime, and this attack this morning was to save the face of the regime, because the regime was hit by Israel, and the regime was trying to find a way to appease their proxies and to show face, to save face, and also to encourage their proxies that, hey, see, we respond. But in reality, they made the biggest mistake in their 45 years of policy. I think this dug their grave, and I believe that Israel has to respond, and not just respond and, you hit me, I hit you. I think this is the moment that the regime in Iran must be gone, because they have a very short moment to get the nuclear bomb. And if they get the nuclear bomb, they become the next North Korea, worse than North Korea, because these people are jihadists. They think that we will become shaheed, the martyrs. We go to be with Allah and have 72 virgins. And they have this apocalyptic eschatology that we're gonna, kill these enemies of Allah, and then we go to paradise, which is a myth, which is a lie, it's a deception. So they're suicidal. Even North Korean dictator, he's as bad as he is, but he's responsible. He's not gonna get up and nuke places because he wants to protect his territory. Although he's panicking and he's like suffering from paranoia. He thinks everybody wants to come and take his land or whatever, and he's trying to in a defensive mode all the time. But these people are offensive. They want to go and hurt and attack and destroy. North Korea is not sending proxies to kill Americans or South Koreans or Japanese. They're not supporting proxies. They don't have this kind of Hamas and Hezbollah that the Iranian regime has. These people are jihadists. And to go to the root of the matter, root of all of these conflicts come from Islam. And sadly, it's not just past 45 years. It's been 1400 years that Islam has been killing, murdering Jews and Christians, because as a spiritual side to look at it is that Muhammad was an antichrist, and his goal was to oppose Christianity and Judaism. In fact, in the Hadith, in Islamic Hadith, Muhammad said that I would not allow one single Jew or Christian to remain in the Arabian Peninsula. And he did that. That's why there's no church in Saudi Arabia. That's why in Saudi Arabia, don't find any Christian. I'm sure now there are underground churches and converts, but Muhammad didn't allow one single of them to leave. And not only that, the root of this is in Islam. Muhammad hated the Jews, hated the Christians. In fact, in one day, Muhammad destroyed a whole village of Jewish people, more than 700 people. He massacred them, just as October 7th. But what you saw on October 7th is exactly how Islam started. And not only that, Iran has made a missile. It's called Khaybar. Yeah. And if you ask a Jew, an Israeli, what Khaybar means, Khay is life, Bar is the field. So Khaybar means the field of life, right? So like farms, fields. So the Jews in Medina, Medina is a city, a place in Yathrib. Yathrib is a city, but it's called also Medina, the city of Yathrib, Medina. And the Jews had a lot of lands and farms, and they were quite successful there and working hard, And what happened was Muhammad went to them and he gave them three options: either become Muslim, or become Muslim, convert to Islam, or we kill you, or you pay blood money. Blood money is called jizya in Arabic. And jizya means you pay a price, a money, so you will not be killed. That's why when Ottoman Empire was in power and was ruling Israel, where you are right now in Christchurch, in this area, when a Muslim would see a Jew or a Christian, he could beat them and ask him for money. And they had to give. It's called jizya, blood money. You pay me, I don't kill you. Because I'm obliged to kill you, so if you pay me, I don't. And then these were the three options. So the Jews said, okay, we don't want to become Muslims and we don't want to die, so we give you money. Okay, they made an agreement, but later the Jews said, no, why we should give you money? Why you want to, extort us? And then Muhammad said, oh, so you broke the agreement, and then he attacked the Jews, and the city where they attacked the Jews was called Khaybar. And Iran, 1400 years later, built a missile called Khaybar. And that implies that this regime is not just doesn't like Israel, the government, they hate the Jews as people. Why would you make a rocket, a missile, and name it Khaybar? And there's a hadith that it says the last day will not come until all the Jews are killed, and even the rocks and trees will cry out, there's the Jew hiding behind me, come and kill him. So this is the root of the matter, and this is the fruit.
Yeah, hey bro, yeah, thanks for the insights. And I think we kind of have to wrap up, but I think I was just kind of like, think about all that we talked about. And it's so interesting to note how much Iran, the history of Iran, from the past, you talk about Cyrus, to the present, is so much involved in, say, Israeli history, even from the ancient and to modern. And yeah, the people are not so aware, so I hope that from this, conversation, we can spark more interest in this topic.